Fuzzy, I know that you haven't had a chance to really kind of dig your heels into the sand with some of the coverage because there's been a lot of it, but we still have to talk about Avowed because you got a chance to see it during June. We've been talking about it on multiple shows that you're on, not only with me but with Mav and the guys. This preview showed off freaking phenomenally. I mean, like I said, if you look at the characters, they're so detailed. They look like action figures. That's how detailed they are. And I think for me, look, I don't mind first person. I don't mind it at all. Skyrim obviously is a great example of that. But what I have to say is it's very easy to just make a game first person because that's how they wanted to do it. And sometimes the third person mode could be what like people like to consider like it's quote unquote tacked on. That's not the case here. Both versions or both views, both first person and third person, are stunning looking. And I think what's even more incredible than the characters themselves, and obviously the enemies that you're going to be meeting on this journey, the world is freaking gorgeous. Every screenshot that I saw, I was like, holy cow. And you know something? The delay that everyone gave them a lot of S for, it looks like it was absolutely worth it. And mind you, I'll say this. When I saw Indiana Jones in August, it was behind closed doors. It was hands off, right? When they flew me out there a couple of weeks, about maybe a month ago, got hands on, looked amazing. The thing that I walked away from that Indiana Jones preview was confidence. They were confident that they showed it behind closed doors, and now they're letting people play it. Lots of creators. Right, we were sent all the B-roll. We all did our videos. It looks phenomenal, sounds phenomenal, plays phenomenal, and that had confidence. What I'm seeing here with Avowed and the way that they're talking about it, the way that the previews went out, and again, I'm actually glad that I didn't get the preview, not because I didn't want to do it. The last couple of weeks for me personally, I mean, you'll never know. We have a lot going on. I mean, a lot. And we're good. We're healthy. You know, things are okay. It's just been ultra busy where trying to do 5 shows a week and trying to actually play games and just, you know, live life and take care of the house and everything. It's been tough. So I'm actually kind of glad that I get to sit back as a fan and watch people like Addict and Cog talk about it. Watch Paris Lilly and his coverage, which his channel's freaking blowing up. Watch people like Khalif Adams, who's a freaking amazing creator. And there's so many more. Colt Eastwood had an amazing video. I didn't get a chance to finish it, Colt. I apologize. I will finish it today while I'm cleaning. That's how I do these things. But the coverage, to me, have this many people with hands-on coverage. And this game doesn't come out for another 3 months, dude. December, January, February. It's 3 months more of polish. Tells me that this is going to be special. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Well, one of the first things I remember, there were a lot of people that were upset about the delay. But there were some other people that were upset about like 30 frames when they originally made mention that it was going to be 30 frames, even on a Series X back in the day. And I was one of those that was like, well, I guess I could play it on PC, worst case scenario. But given that they're going to probably delay it from the November time to early next year, I don't think they had come to a February date at that point. But when they said they were going to delay it, I was like, that's probably enough time to get them to 60 frames. Because a lot of these games, unfortunately, the way I guess they're built, the frame rate winds up being later as far as the console. It's like they make sure all the quests and all the T's are crossed and I's dotted as far as like the build of the game, but the frame optimization aspects of it seem to be towards the back end of things. So I figured that time was going to be enough to get them to 60 frames. So that was one of the things that I've heard that they were, confirming that it's going to at least be 60 frames on the Series X. So that's great. And that goes to show that the delay was worth it in that regard. But like the screenshots I saw of third person, and that's probably the biggest thing. Like, even though I like the hand gestures as far as like when you're doing some of the spells, the elemental spells and things like that, it looks cool in first person, much like what was that game, Ghostwire Tokyo to some extent. But I've always wanted these types of games to be third person, so you can see your character, see the armor that you've looted from somebody's dead body, or that they gave you as a reward for saving the kingdom or whatever kind of thing. So I've preferred third person for the most part. There are certain exceptions, like I'm enjoying Stalker in first person, but it'd be cool if it was third person as well. But this game here, at least the shots that I've seen in our DMs as far as the stills of the third person, has me excited for it. The fact that you can see the elemental effect on the sword, and you can see like how the wind is blowing the not really the cape, but like the shawl and whatnot that you're wearing. So I was already pleased with the detail I saw when they showed it its last time. What was that? I guess it was November, or maybe prior to November. And I was fine with that being what it would be for launch, but I knew giving them extra time would, give them more time to polish. And it's definitely showing in not just the scenery, but the characters and whatnot. So every time they show this game, it looks that much better than it did before. And I can't wait to play it come February, although I got to definitely clear out some of the backlog leading up to it. But I've been excited for this game. Love how Obsidian, does their RPGs. Like I think I made mention on Monday where it was like, the Fractured But Whole South Park game.
By the way, an amazing game. A freaking amazing game, by the way.
And then Outer Worlds, that was another one that I love. So it's great that we're going to get that same Obsidian magic here, early next year. But man, I can't wait to play this. But in a way, I was one of those quietly, and I know Pong hates me for it, quietly cheering that this would be delayed, because you already see how we have Flight Sim, which I'm interested in, Stalker 2, which I'm interested in, and Call of Duty, which I've yet to finish the campaign, and I'm still doing my Forza Horizon 5 daily, car, grind type of deal. So it's like having that game come out when it would have come out. I would have been like either Avowed would have went on the back burner or Stalker 2. And the way I am about looter shooters, Avowed would have been the one that goes on the back burner. So I probably wouldn't have got to it until February anyway. But yeah, just from the stills I've seen, I haven't seen the video from the recent interview or any of the updated shots and the hands-on footage and stuff like that. But the stills from that alone has me excited. And I can't wait until February next year. So got to hurry up and finish some more games before I can get to it.
Korkenstein, let's talk about the Avowed preview. This game looks like it's a winner. Obviously, first of all, shout out to Shinobi 702. He did a write-up. I sent it to you guys. It's basically like a book he wrote, and it breaks down everything that they showed at the preview, because I believe they gave him the preview as well. And the listing is just it's incredible. There's so much there. I did see a negative review where someone was angry that you couldn't steal. There's I think the article says something like there's no thievery in Avowed, and do you know why? Because it's not there. And I'm like, wow, like that's what you're going with? That's your freaking complaint because you don't want to. It was okay, I guess. I guess people want to be, scumbags and just want to rob everybody. But you kill somebody then, and then take the stuff off their dead body. There you go. You're a murderer and a robber too. Everybody wins, right? I guess. Korkenstein, I want to get your thoughts on this because Man, I thought the game looked good when we saw it originally, but some of the previews that I've personally seen, and again, I've already mentioned the creators, man, it looks really freaking good. What are your thoughts on it, man?
Yeah, it looks awesome. Like I said before, I was running a little late because I was watching one of the previews from Fextra Life, and yeah, it just looks solid. It looks great. I mean, this is what happens when you let developers cook. You let them get the time that they need to go back. I know people were like, "Oh, it's there was different narratives that people ran with," but now we see the proof in the pudding. It just looks absolutely amazing. It looks to be very heavy wizardy kind of builds, which is just going to make it just look absolutely magical, literally, because of like all the spells I was watching. Yeah, he was running around with like the wand and just like shooting off spell after spell with like a bow. It just looks fluid. I haven't been able to catch up with it yet. Like I said, I've been insanely busy with work. Has it been announced at 60, or do we still not know?
I have the quote. You know what? Let me go into our DM for a second because I have a quote from the producer. Where is it? Bloody
Yeah,
H.
sorry, I just haven't been
No,
able
no, no,
to
it's fine. Okay, so
to
I
catch
got it.
up with
Yeah.
work.
So this comes away of Clobriel, incredible content creator on Twitter. Basically, he has a quote here. Carrie Patel on Avowed. Now she is running the show for Obsidian regarding this game. She says this: I want to clarify. 30 FPS on Series X is not our target. We will hit that at the very least. We are fully into performance optimization and we want to fully deliver a beautiful world that at the best frame rate we possibly can. And we're working on that right now. I
Okay.
mean, is she saying it's going to be 60 at launch? I mean, depending on whether your glass is half full or half empty. Now, my glass is always half full. So I'm thinking that, well, she wouldn't say this unless they were close, and they still have 3 months. So I think they're going to hit 60. I think there is going to be a performance mode. It may be 60, 1440p on the Series X because this game is chugging. It's a lot going on. So if they were able to get it at 1440p, 60 FPS, that's awesome. And I'll play it. And I'll enjoy it. I'm a bit of a graphics whore, so I don't mind 30. I might just go with 30 for the 4K. That's just me. But I have to see how it plays. But there's your answer.
Yeah, it all depends on how it's going to play, and you really won't know until you get the game in your
Yep.
hand. This isn't a competitive shooter, so if it doesn't have 60, it's not the end of the world. From what we saw, the combat looks fluid as is, even if it is at 30. I'm not a big, it has to be 60 frames per second kind of guy. For me, it just depends on, like you said, how the gameplay is. If the gameplay is strategic and it's a little bit more slower pace, 30 is like a Starfield. It's a perfect 30 doesn't really matter, all that much. A game like you're showing right now, Call of Duty, where every frame counts, then yeah, So I hope it's 60, but if it's 30, it's not a big deal to me. It looks absolutely gorgeous where it's at. I guess my co-host Goldshell, he said, I guess he sees a lot of references of Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2, which I guess this is a sequel of.
It's in the same. It's in the Living Lands. I've personally never played Pillars 1 and 2. It's an ARPG, so it's not really my bag. So for me, I'm even more excited to get into this because the Living Lands is a part of this monster living world. So that's where this is supposed to take place. So yes, there are plenty people. I'll put it to this way: the way it was described, even before the previews, Korkenstein, is that if you are a fan of Pillars, this is a love letter, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's kind of how he's describing it. It looks really awesome. I'm with you. I've never played a Pillars of Eternity game. Unfortunately, you guys can throw the virtual tomatoes at me and Boom if you guys like. But yeah, but if this game's awesome, I know they're two different. I've been familiar with it. It has that isometric view, right, and stuff like that. So I'm familiar with the titles. But if Avowed kicks for me, then I'm just I'll dive into that world. Yeah, there we go. There's Jagger. Already throwing the tomatoes. But yeah, I'll jump in and start playing these games because I mean, my other co-host Q, he was like engrossed with these games for like a month or two. It just seemed like nonstop. He's but I mean they've actually loved these games, so
Yeah.
it looks good. I did see that it looks like it's not fully open world, which is cool. It looks like it's more instant, so they're gonna have, you know, like maybe I don't know if it's biomes or not. I think they only got to see one like section of like the open world part.
There's multiple
Um,
biomes. Yeah, there's one
yeah,
in the snow. There's one in the forest. There's one that's like in a rock village. Yeah,
mhm.
you're gonna be here, there, and everywhere.
Which is cool. And he said even like the previews I was watching that there's so much to explore in that world with the why so serious has canned tomatoes. I didn't even know that's an emote.
Me
I
either.
didn't
I
even
didn't know.
know that was an emote.
Wait a second. Canned tomatoes would hurt. That gets you
Yeah.
all lumped up over there. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Seriously, why so serious? Uh yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, like the world has like these actual like big giant dungeons living inside these instances. So that's why I'm happy. I know people might want their fully open explorable world, but when you start doing instances and stuff like that, this is what you can kind of do with it to where you get the you get these large worlds that are a little bit more fleshed out because they're a little bit more contained. And that's what I'm really looking for. But overall, I really can't wait to get my hands on this in February. I mean, the fact they did an early preview build 3 months out just shows how confident they are in this game now.
Yes. Yep.
And I mean, I'm curious to see where this build is from. If anybody's kind of mentioned how far back the build is, if this is a month-old build, if it's
I have not
2-week
seen.
old
You know what?
build.
That's an interesting thought, dude. Like I don't recall anyone like normally like even like Paris makes mention of that when he does these things. You know, he specifically always like, hey, this build is from so and so according to the developer. I don't recall anyone saying that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I'm kind of wondering. But I mean, if even if this is like a month-old build, that just shows how well this game's progressing right now.
Yeah, man.
Granted, things can change. I mean, they're still technically in an alpha stage, or they could already be in beta. Who knows? I do know they'll probably go to cert in a month before,
Yeah,
unless they're really
probably early January, I would imagine.
yeah, unless they're really cutting it down to the wire and they're trying to push, you know, that really 60 frames per second, you know, really trying to get to the wire. Maybe about they could do 3 weeks to 2 weeks. That's really cutting it. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks to get through certification. Just depends on how backlogged everything is. I'm sure Microsoft would probably push it through theirs a lot faster and put all hands on it, so it could come out sooner than later. But they still have to get everything to print for if it's coming out as a physical title, things like that. All the logistics. I'm boring people with that, but yeah, I'm curious to see exactly when this build is from. But even if it's like I said, yeah, a month ago, or it just looks fully fleshed out. So kudos, well done. You know, Obsidian and Xbox getting this into gamers' hands. I mean, who would have thought people were going to get a random preview build 3 months before Avowed came out?